What do you think about socialism? You don't like it. You're not keen on socialism. Now that,
Yes and no. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, imperialism.
Definitely not.
Right, it's kind of weird, really, isn't it? That you got to think about it. The socialism works, but it depends on whether I'm accurately naming this as social state. Let's have a
Yeah,
look.
it's just
So,
misused name, that's all.
yeah, so, but I think the raw concept of socialism would be like a working tax pot, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't say for working people to pay the tax pot. No, it's like everybody paying into the same pot in order to get some things come out of the pot, yes?
Yeah.
You know, most, the reason why it works is because it's a solid structure. It's what the universe operates on, this socialism. And it gets a bad rap, but there again, no one is ever really looking at it positively. You're looking at it in a wrong way. When we call social housing social, it's an attack on your senses, is what it is. And it's not social, it's private because it's been bought and it makes a CEO. It doesn't function around this, it functions around profit. And profit, when it's held, and it can also be abused as well. That's usually the way things go. Now, we say from a tax pot, you can then build what? An NHS. Problem is, it works too well. That's why it gets such a bad rap, and then loads of things. So if we look at our whole society here in Britain, what's it built on? Socialism. So it created an NHS because the tax pot starts to overflow. It creates homes. And again, to think about it, it's kind of part socialistic and it's also part profitable as well. But there is no one person making this profit. No, it goes into a pot that then can be regenerated into creating more. But there again, it's an interesting thing, really, isn't it? What else is it built? We could say energy. So you can say power. I didn't really want to put it in that way, but there we are. Energy, power, electricity, infrastructure. Did it create water? Water company? So we can put water, and we can put clean water, can't we? It creates schools, which is education. And again, shades of grey with that one. I think that one privatized would be a good thing. Anyway, and what else? Shops, businesses. It also created better place for farming and food. You'll say that it doesn't. I say that it did. And all of this comes from a tax pot. We can keep going with this. We can say RAF, RAF.
Yeah, and some public services like transportation.
Indeed.
And
So
roads, space for roads.
roads,
And
trains.
buses.
Yeah. And what's great about this is that you pay into a tax pot. And if it inflates, which a good tax pot will inflate, the thing is, eventually, it's like a plane taking off. Once you reach that plateau, you no longer need to take a tax. That's the thing. It's a very interesting thing. Because let's say you pay a bill. And most of these, and let's say you pay a rent. Well, at the moment, because it's being given out left, right, and centre, and CEOs and different things like that, and you've got to ask yourself a question, really. Should this ever be let go of again? Once it's put back into the people's hands, you should never let go of this. Wouldn't it be nice if there were CEOs in every single one of these, which there is. And this is why you are losing businesses, because let's say they're building homes, yeah? Well, we take social housing, we're going to call it that because that's what people accept it as. It smacks the hell out of you, is what it does.
Mm.
It's a very, very bad thing because you've got CEOs, and then what do? They want to make profit, but they want to make more profit because enough is just never enough when you've got X amount. You want to make even more and even more and even more. This creates a power dynamic. And it's a very bad power dynamic because it depends on which way it goes. More money, more power, more influence, more illusion of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it does create a power dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. And again, this is very strange. And then if you've got a power dynamic here, and they fit in rules, this power dynamic might choose not to. We also got this thing with limited liability. I think it's very bad if we think about that. We're going to keep that there as well because limited liability is a problem, a big, big problem. Limited liability. Terrible thing that has ever been made, and small businesses seem to suffer the rap for this. They are responsible for what they do. If you go limited, are you really responsible? And that's irresponsible, really. Oh, it also creates police and stuff like that, fire brigade, stuff like that, so on. Anyway, let's look at this power dynamic for a moment, and then we'll get back to that. So it creates a power dynamic in here, and it can be abused. Not everyone, but most. You name me anyone that's going to be balanced with that. So, and again, want to make more money. So we then start offering jobs, and it looks like wealth and jobs and opportunity and everything else, but it isn't, because you're trading your current job. And what is that? Self-employed, let's say. And you then go and work for a company such as this one. Often it is. Watch how companies treat the lowest individuals in society. Well, do they pay a good enough tax that goes for people on benefits? Do they pay a tax that goes for people that need dentistry? No, they donate to charities, but why do they not donate to the tax pot? That's a question.
Yeah.
After all, they're quite happy to take from the tax pot in assets. Or are they quick to give back to the very thing that funded them? No, they got money for charities. So they've got money for animals to have a better existence. You are asked, where did that money come from? Well, because they offered someone a job, self-employed. You've got to be very careful with this. And then loads of people join up as self-employed, such as Saffron or wherever it may be. And then they need vans. Then they want to take those vans home. Who's fueling that? And you'll say, no one. What about the people that are paying the rent? And then it's got to go up because it's going to increase. Because garages, wear and tear, parts, this all stuff is going to start to go up. Who's going to be liable for that? Well, you are the person that rents. Then what's more? What about wages?
Yeah, you pay wages.
Well, so they're going to pay you wages on self-employed, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to give you guaranteed work, yeah? But if they're treating the people that rent very poorly, or a few of them poorly, they're treating the tax pot that they took this from in the first place very poorly.
Yeah.
Then once they've got enough of you in this, are they going to start lowering your wages?
Yeah.
Could they then feel threatened by an NHS, want to privatize it?
Yeah.
Which then all you're saying is, should we create another CEO? And then we start to move over to imperialism. The same with the pyramids and different things like this. This is the same way that this always happens. Exact same way. And there again, you should ask yourself the question that once they've eliminated this and rents have gone through the roof, They're building more houses than they can do with, and they love this thing called consumerism. Why consumerism? Because it makes more money, it keeps things going, it's got to make more problems. This keeps you distracted. Life was not made to be imperialistic and for people to hoard wealth. When you hoard wealth, what do you do to your community? Shops begin to falter. Anyone that's self-employed or is trying to kickstart a business, you're going to struggle very hard to find it. Why? Because you're going to be spending a lot of your money in here.
Yeah.
And it's not only spending your money, it's also, well, you're working. And what if your wages start to go down? Now, let's say they eliminate the government with this process. Let's just take this out of the equation for a second, a hypothetical that never will happen. But what do government do with your wages? Not saying that this is, they give you the bare ass minimum, right? But they right, so government says, look, you are going to pay people this wage, no lower. And they're like, that means that there's a middle and there's a high. And then the companies start talking about, yes, but we pay the minimum wage. What, like you're proud of that? You're basically saying, we make people live on the breadline.
Yeah.
Look how great we are.
Yeah.
And then they start cutting corners on repairs or different things like that. And then it puts you into a condition. And then they've got the power to say whether they want to do something about those conditions. Because once you've eliminated the central power, what do you have? Well, then they become the authority then, don't they? They say what goes.
Yeah.
So they say how much wage you get. They say how much rent you get. You'll take these conditions and you will accept it. You know, when we look at this, we've got to understand something, that when we look at a small company, we've got to look at it if it were to excel. Okay? How will they treat people?
Yeah.
Now, do they have a preference with people that they like and people that they don't like? For instance, do they take a service charge from people and not deliver a service? Well, that's one corner cut.
Yeah.
Now they've started employing people under limited liability to do a job. And what happens if they cut corners around that based on whether they like you or your ethnicity? This speaks massive volumes.
Yeah.
And that is all then going to a CEO that proudly each year gives himself an extra bonus and board members and everything else. And they stand there so proud. And the people in this, you're not seeing it. Now, they already support other businesses, other assets, other this. They treat animals so great. RSPCA, whatever it may be, you know, whatever charity they usually find, it's never really one that's sort of,
Yeah.
You have extra money that you can donate that much from one charity to another. I didn't know there was an NHS crisis for animals, did you?
No.
The same ones that catch them to put them in a cage to then sell them to you when they were quite happily functioning in the wild, and then all of a sudden created a problem, but then takes it from low income because it's supposed to be social housing, which it isn't because it's private. Will quite happily pay into another business, but won't pay into this. Won't open a dentist, won't function That's an interesting thing. How do you treat people goes on to show how you'll treat everyone. Now, maybe that's not fair, and maybe they're held back and they're not allowed to do those things, or they'll be kicked out of the company. I know. But then you would have to argue back with that how many people are there in these companies that they could all band together and say, do you know what? We're going to do this a different way. Using the power of the papers and everything else to say, we just paid in to the NHS and we got down this many waiting lists. You go public with it, you would put it out, you'd parade it, you'd show it around your shops, you'd share it with your other businesses to put this in there. That's what you would do. Because there's enough of you. It's enough wealth to recruit people to even chariot that. I mean, that would look pretty interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But no, we often see how much money they made, and wonderful. You see, we get into this little trap here, that when we get into this, there's no going back. Well, there is, but there's not really much of a turning point because who's going to be there to protect you when they couldn't give a shit? It's either this or fuck off in the streets. But there, all of these land is not, you're not allowed on it. And then we do another one, and then we create another one for power companies, CEO taking large amounts of money, buses, CEO taking large amounts of money, and then what else? Not RAF, food, CEO, large amounts of money.
Yeah, many of them, yeah.
Shops, these become a thing of the past. And there, once again, once these have fallen, there's no more variety.
Yeah.
And the only reason what makes things cheap now is because there is an ore. However, these ones go too high, these ones go very low. These ones go too low, and then these ones become higher. This is just what happens. In order to stop them from doing that, you've got to be able to own the grounds underneath the shops. That's another thing. And then businesses start to fall away, and then your trades are into these sort of companies here. And you have to do what they tell you to do. And then how does that look like going forwards? Clean water. I mean, if we do have arsenic leaching into boilers, and that's before the 11-month ratio, then what is happening to Anglian water when they discharge this wastewater with all those contaminants in it? They then get discharged into rivers and then into the ocean, and then you go there the summer and all of those poisonous products in there. Safety is nothing more than an illusion, to be honest. That's all it is. When we have a life of socialism. That's what built this country. That's what allowed all of these jobs and everything else. Do you know what else socialism does? If true socialism stops CEOs, the tax pot is going to make money. It needs to, yes, off of the bills. It doesn't mean that you get everything for free. That's a misconception. That's a wrong attitude for anybody to have. But every time you pay your rent, it goes back into here. Every single time you buy something from a shop, it goes back into here. Every time you do something with this, or you pay a bus, it goes back into here. You pay your energy, it goes back into here. Do you see how much of a tax pot then becomes a problem, that there's so much money now locked into there? We don't want to give people opportunities, even though you could with this process. It means that there's more money for opportunity, a lot of it, because it isn't going into directly one person's pocket. Then what this does is when it opens up shops, which is then based on talent and skill for other people, these ones, yes, they make money, but never enough to hoard wealth in this way. Because their wealth is expected to go on and up and up and up and up. These ones, well, you have enough. You have enough to do a little bit better. And what's more, this can give you something, and every time someone buys something, you would think that it would go back into this process here. Yeah. You would pay that. You'd also be responsible for liability, which I think is a small price to pay, really, because it keeps us good. It keeps us pure. It makes us do things about any problems that arise by taking responsibility. And what's responsibility? About doing something about those issues very quickly. That's what that does. It also means that you've also got new homes being built. It also has money to renovate the ones that are falling apart. And if you transition as a society into a different phase, you see, the world is a very strange thing, right? Everything starts off in abundance. Everything does. But by design, it's meant to overfill to the point where it pushes you against buffer zones. And these buffer zones are by design. You see, people say that houses are cages. Technically they are. It's interesting. When there was a small population around, this world was abundant, bountiful. You didn't need farms when it was all around you. And the knowledge of knowing what to eat, what to collect,
Where
what
to
you needed
find
to do,
it.
what type of resources you needed. It was abundance. Bountiful place. Absolutely food everywhere. Walking across the lands, in the oceans, in the rivers, it was abundant. Then the numbers start to grow. Abundance doesn't look so abundant now. This is by design to make you look at all of the pieces that you've got scattered across the planet, all of the strange and weird and wonderful stuff. And rather than being jealous of it, you're supposed to look at it and think, what the hell did they know? There's a lot of programming that we've gone through. To look at yourself was never done back in past times. It just was not a thing that was done. They used to look within themselves because they couldn't see themselves. Now when you look at yourself, you automatically think mirror, you think camera, you think picture. The reason why your inner nodes are stronger is because you used to look within, because you couldn't see yourself. You also relied on people's opinion of you around you to give you that information. And therefore, in a society like that, which is not this, people were more friendlier, more caring to one another. Oh, you've got a little bit of something on you. I'll just get that. And then that was how it was expected. They didn't quickly run up to a water somewhere and quickly see if they had something on them. No, because most of the time it was quite a treacherous place, and also there was risk. So they learned to look within, from within. And when you place mirrors in, it's like a different layer of reality. You're now able to see yourselves more and more clearer. And this technology, and it is a technology that begins to refine itself more and more and more. And then it becomes abundant. You see, that's an interesting thing. And then it stops you from going within, and it starts making you look outside yourself as opposed to inside yourself. The reason why we are more creative at thinking, this has developed a lot more than what it is now. This is later to the, got a little bit slower to the party, let's say, this particular mirror and seeing yourself externally, and also from a camera and different things like that. That's why it's not so fluid as what within you is. The thoughts are more clearer. It's more this and this. You understand you. It's an interesting thing, really, isn't it? Anyway, we got a lot of scattered stuff around the world, haven't you? You got a lot of stuff, Mayans, anything else, all of it. Egyptians and different things like that. These things go to show you the amount of ability that people had back then. They were more intelligent but limited. It's weird, isn't it? But in a bountiful place. Look at that. All builds out of them. So anyway, if we take a fish tank and we set it up and we put a few fish in there and they begin to breed and breed. So to the two fish first in the tank, relative size, it's abundance. And we put a load of plants in there as well. Your planet is much the same as a fish tank by design. Tricky, but also it's just the way it is. Your next phase, you start putting loads of plant matter in there, and then you put the two fish in there, and you put the filters on, and it's got all the perfect currents with the right balance and the right pH and everything else coming in, evaporating and condensing back down. That's abundance. So those two fish, that's heaven. And then they breed, still heaven. They breed again, and they breed again, and they breed again, and they keep on breeding. What happens to the food? It minimizes. No longer a bountiful place, no longer abundant. What happens to the water quality? It begins to no longer become as pure as what it once was. What happens to the air quality, the oxygen levels? And very big effects begin to happen. Why? Well, that's interesting. You can do the same process with another fish tank, and we'll say that we'll make it so it's greed based. Where the ones move all of the plant matter to one side and say, you lot go over there. You can't eat this is mine. That's greed. Does the same thing. But it keeps you dependent on these people whilst the corn in the, let's say the silo is diminishing. And you're going to be relying on them to get you out of that shit. But they then start to view you in this opposite side of the tank but you are not worthy enough. And then that creates an issue. It distorts what you're supposed to see. It's interesting, really. That's controlling of information. And with this other fish tank, we'll go back to the first one. It begins to fill up, and it's no longer abundant. If that process with the fish continues, all of the fish will die. It's just what happens. Humans have a different ability. When you stick them in a tank, and they begin to, not perfect, but they begin to get bigger. They then start looking around, and they begin to look up. And they get pushed more and more to the boundaries. And yes, sure, you might say that there's only X amount of humans, yes, but humans require a lot of things in order to operate. And some of them don't give a shit until things are knocking at their door. Okay? Because they're not responsible. You are responsible. You just don't realize it yet, but you are responsible. Whether you believe in anything higher or not, one day you'll find out. You are responsible. And then it starts to fill up. And humans, with that care and nature that they once had, no longer do. Not all. Are usually meant to look up and say, "Ooh, there's more up there." The reason why things on your planet are limited, not this type of limited, this gets in the way, always stands in the way, pretending that this is the limit. No, it isn't. You have rare stuff on your planet. This is the process that happens, unfortunately, when you tap into this, it expands you. And by default, it expands you so much that what seemed like such a lot to you, so many resources to a small number, shrink in comparison because there is now more of you. And those resources are meant to look smaller, a lot smaller, and then you're supposed to question it. Well, if we stay here on that, we can't, we like to expand more. We want to expand more of what we are. How can we achieve that? And you start looking up and, nothing quite like an ego where we name gods after planets. Interesting. That's a very interesting thing. You start to look at this, you start to learn it, you start to explore it. But you tell me how you do that on imperialism. With there's no money, everything's lacking, and humans must ask themselves a very important question. Then is this the right way? And then if push comes to shove and they start doing things where they're cutting corners, they're not delivering a proper service for the charge, for the rent, for this, for that, and the jobs get shitter, this degrades the people that work at the company. And then they all are hired on this understanding that it's all about control. Weird. And it makes you live and work in a very depressed state. That's interesting. Do you think that the depression is because of this and because of these and because of those? No, it's because of the whole system. That's what it's doing. What is it telling you? And if you were to go back into your ancestors and if you were to ask the correct questions, if you could resurrect them and ask them a question, what would it be? Most people say, if you had one person that you could resurrect, who would it be? Pick someone in your own family. Don't pick Einstein. Don't pick Tupac. Pick someone from your family. Back at a certain time, what was it like for you? Well, we did this, and that. Oh, now you've just gained some insight. Sure, perhaps. Now apply that with this. They seemed more happier. Why? Because abundance surrounded them. And it wasn't this structure, it was this structure. And we've often grown a lot where we think that this structure is really bad. You get the right people in this structure here, and what you've got is a beautiful existence. People here, there's too many CEOs with conflicting information, and they have interests that they want to protect, and they are going to protect those structures tooth and nail. How do you control that up there? How do I get this up there? Because people It will be like someone opening a bird cage outside. Take owls, eagles, or anything else for that matter. If you rear them in a cage, they'll stay in the cage, but open up to the wild, to them. And what will they do by a choice? Fly. Fly away, because that freedom, that experience, that abundance, that everything, your sterile environment, not great for it. They don't like it. If they had a choice, they didn't get given the choice. Humans, you are the same. You know, probably the one thing that was probably very bad was learning to cage animals. That became the, you know, some people look at that and think, wow, specimen, lovely, this, and this. Other people look at that and think, shit, do you think that will work for humans? Do you think we can cage them up? And then what are the birds then in a cage? They have to drink what you give them. They have to take what you give them, when you give it to them, what type of water you will give them. And if that is, well, tarnished, well, they're going to drink that, aren't they? Open up abundance to them and look at what they do. They fly. Do they come back to the cage? You sit there and you'll think, oh my God, they love it in there. They must love it. And then let's say you don't put them in the cage, but you have them in the house. Free, you think. They're out in the room, but they're no longer in the cage. They go to the cage perhaps to eat, to do what they need to do. But other than that, they'll choose the room. That's interesting, isn't it? And are they truly happy? Which one is truly happiness? You know when you cry if you lose an animal from a cage? I once lost a hamster when I was young. Broke my little heart. But the thing is, was that really because the hamster... You know, I was reading it wrong. I was always reading that wrong. Moral of the story, he was found and captured again. But to him, he was living his life. Ooh, tunneling all over the place, no doubt. The thing is, what were you crying for at that age? I was very young. The loss. Why? If they truly loved being in there, which you think they do, then they would go back to it. They don't. Why? Because it's not life. It's not abundance. It's controlled. It's conditioned. They don't get to go out when they're told. They'll eat when they eat. They drink when they're told. If you think about it, really, it's relying on the hand that feeds. Humans are the same. And when you get down about that, it's because you see yourself. You see your whole humanity out operating this way. That's what it is. You're in a cage. You're in an existence. Now, we understand that America broke away and did what they did. Whatever you call that through the history, yes? It went on to become a superpower. Can you imagine a nation that aligns to its pot correctly? With all this abundance going into the pot, not CEOs. And you've got all of these things operating in the, you know, you will still have houses. You'll have really good benefits. A wonderful NHS. You really will. You know, some of these things, there's enough profit to support an NHS. Dentistry. And there's still loads left over. Don't worry about it. Roads get sorted. Military gets paid. Energy companies, that one. Could you imagine that? Across the whole UK going into a tax pot every time you pay your bill.
There would be enough for helicopters, for ambulance.
Yeah.
People have to
And then
share it.
Yeah. These things can also support schools. That's an interesting thing. But it's often, what is our education? What is our education at this current state? Who has the education? Are they using it correctly? Are they flexible with the education? No. So then people have to ask some very hard-hitting questions. No one does. No one's asking. Who's holding on to the homes? Why? How? Should we look back? should we look forward? Now, what does this do for us right now as a nation? Do we have money for a space program?
No.
No? It's interesting, but that's abundance. We talk about imperialism like we were going to all get rich one day. Keep dreaming. If one of these goes off,
Yeah.
or if they choose not to because they know that it crumbles their structure, you get a good system in place with the right people operating it, with the right flexibility over the schools, with this. So far, if you have two different types of schooling and the other ones are susceptible to this type of schooling, and you have the money in your pot, you can create a new school. Creating a new school, wow, people will see it, hear it from the ones that go to it. It only needs to start off with something very small. And when people start to see the results of this new school and this new education and the people that are now growing up into adults, that's when demand becomes heavy, to the point where they start asking questions on the current school and say, we don't want this anymore. This activates something in the people to then say, right, what do you want? More of this. And those old schools that were with whoever that is, then maneuver over to a pot that is there, that is going to invest into their futures. Then this changes the whole monopoly structure completely. Do we have enough money for space program? Yes, if everyone then power companies as well. You find a way to muscle power and create a new system, and you are creating a new energy supply. What do? People will maneuver over to it. Why? Because it will be slightly cheaper than the going rate. And then what's going to happen with this? No CEO. Workers, yes. Better wages, absolutely, but no CEO. The profit is the pot. Why? Because what else can that, they say recycle, the possibilities are endless. No, that's bullshit. Fuck that. Yes, I agree with that. But what I'm looking at is, isn't it a tax pot? Every bill goes into that. They're the possibilities. What can you do with it? Now, America did what they did, and they became a superpower. Could you imagine what we could do if we were to make a space program? We'll also become I don't even know, superpower, is there anything? We'll become a subsonic power. If we all level up at the same time, that happens again. You notice this breaking away from something, giving up your comforts. America touched it. They touched it. And it sparked really through their nation, created what it did today. And hard work and grit, yes, and all of that. But they touched it. They, in contrast, they almost tricked their own minds that they left to space. Can you imagine that? That's already going to a different land. Yes, you've just touched something and it sparked through you. You start going towards space, you are touching it. This abundance and all of that goodness that erupts through you, out comes the pen, out comes the paintbrush, and here you go, start creating a new reality. When you align it this way and you have this structure, you can take this structure and all of these substructures that are in it that way. You can't do it with the homes that are being built right now. Not really. You can. But with these individuals, just in the way they look after it, how you treat one is going to be how you treat them all. And therefore, that would then mean that we've seen it time and time again. It's not responsible. There's no responsibility there. And the structure begins to fall. It doesn't mean that it's lost. It just means that there's something new that can come from this. Railway tracks. Every time you get on a frickin' train, it's going into this, not a pocket. It's going into people's wages, not a pocket. That's what's true Britain. True British people built a nation on socialism. No ifs, no buts, no maybes, and they always make the same fatal mistake. You move over to imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
This fucks you up every single time. It's the greed process that comes out.
Yeah.
That's what causes nations to fall apart. Take a look around. Look at it.
Yeah.
Anyone truly happy deep down?
Mm-hmm.
You keep getting the same results. What's the transition? What changed? Well, it was technology. Nope. This is another beautiful structure that has come from this. But could you imagine what more could be done with it? The objective is get company, get rich, hoard money.
Yeah.
This dries it up out of society. This stops money from circulating. This melts down things. Things push up, push up, push up, because all they want is more, 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 more. Greed, 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 greed. This collapses things. Then, by contrast, NHS starts buckling. But again, they don't care. They're not going to care. No one is going to care because we want more money.
Mm.
And then we look at anyone that at the NHS that asks for higher wages, that you should be grateful for what you get. No, because their life is increasing too. Payments are increasing. Their demands are increasing. The wages stay the same, but it can deplete the pot. That's what it does. Then it poses another question. Do we sell it? Do we keep it? Is it going bust? You ask yourself the question, who made it go up? Who kept the wages minimum? And who is making this all go up? And why are they making it all go up? And why are they calling these things social housing when it ain't social? What's more, if it stayed in this particular pot here, we'll talk about central government. How many AI systems could be built to then offer people, self-employment that pays really good? How efficient is it? If there's liability, you're going to want to do a good job. Why are you going to want to do a good job? Because you want to be called again. If it's in social housing, you're just going to have to get what they give you. That's how it is. And then they get to put in people of certain backgrounds. And it's either full-blown punishment or nothing at all. But there again, they want these people to have a behavioural response. Whereas if we don't get out as being a community together and try and communicate with each other in a very amicable, very respectful way with each other to find a middle common ground, then what this does is enhances the belief system inside your mind that social housing is bad because of the type of people they put there. That doesn't tell you that individual people may be a bit lost on their journey and maybe need educating. That's all. And then that fizzles that out. But no, because that won't make you think that social housing is a bad problem, which is the socialism is bad. This is manipulative to make you believe that socialism is bad. And then you'll say that benefits are bad. Of course, why are these people on benefits? In actual fact, if we look a little deeper, you'll want to start paying attention to the ones that have the homes, especially in social housing. And if the council aren't doing shit all about it, which they weren't, and they give that power over to social housing, what does that look like? Is it education based? Is it this? No, probably not. It's probably do nothing. A bit like the council, let's do nothing. Why? Because we need a narrative spread. What's that narrative? Social housing is bad. People on benefits are bad. This, and this is bad. And then you're moving people in, usually working classes, buy a house, different things like that. Sure, don't want to be prejudiced or anything, because some people who have are on benefits have bought houses too. Don't get me wrong. But look at the narrative that it spreads. These types of people, bad. Socialism, social payment, social security, whatever it may be called. And then they're in a social housing, which is not as private. This is bad. And you, the working person, why should I pay my taxes in that? And then you get tricked into politics. Certain politics. We need to get rid of benefits. And then people may come up to say that. to make you hate this structure, which then further, where did they come from? Are you imperialistic? Is that where your background is? Is that what your agenda is? Have any of these done anything for you? Because that's favor, isn't it? You are helping their narrative. So of course, they're going to want to put you up there. Because if someone starts calling out that they're not paying into this pot, which is then going to buckle this, no one's going to come out and say that. They're going to make out that this is all bad. Then socialism is bad, right? Because look at the social housing. Look at the social security. Look at the benefits that you're getting on this stuff. And really, it's just been their ploy all along. Because why should anyone have that? Everyone should be in this soup. That's an interesting thing. At the same time, diminishing jobs. Jobs diminish. I mean, if more people keep being born, what's going to happen? How many more jobs can you actually provide for people? Seriously, realistically, if shops close, these close, what are you going to do? Yeah, that's control. And then, I guess we can't afford to go to space. And then if anybody else starts going to a space around us, and is this where Britain is heading? Is this where British people want to head? Because, I don't know, man. I put you back. You become a third world country when other nations around you start investing in space. You're now no longer independent, you are dependent. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing to me, and that's a bit of a weird thing to do, and that's all via hating socialism, because imperialism will pave the way. I don't know about that. Seems like imperialism will then, we will get what we need to get, and then when we figured out how to give it and sell it and reproduct it back to you, then maybe you'll be allowed to go here. Whereas it should be a national and a nation thing to do together into a pot. Now, everything that comes back through can be distributed evenly among people for them to do and create a craft. Creating new homes that are aligned to this, utilizing railway as a fascinating thing. Food, shelter, abundance, and you can take care of animals this way too. We're all going to evolve, and it gets us out there. And the more of us that are out there, the more that's coming in. We become hunter-gatherers again. The abundance process starts again until the future generations become complacent again. And you will. You'll get into the buffer zone of the SOHO solar system once you've transformed that, recycled it. Some people will protest, we will not diminish this planet. You can see it all happening, and I understand why they do it for trees. It makes perfect sense. And the buffer zone. Ooh, should we really go? Once again, it will come again, and time to go. Next one. You know, that's what your journey. And slowly but surely you then reach oasis again and abundance again, and there's more for you to expand into. The lessons come thick and fast. You know, how many breakthroughs lie in the minds of people that are uneducated anywhere? And then it doesn't matter about education, but it matters about the quality of education. What are you being taught? Taught how to function in a 1950s system of socialism, while walk around understanding imperialism and then wonder why people don't know how to function in because you've been given the wrong information for the wrong system.
I don't know if kids are really taught even how to function in any system.
Yeah.
They are just taught to memorize this subject, and then they never know why they need to know all the information about some rocks, like geology or some stuff they will never need.
We seem to learn a lot about the planet, but it means that we stay on the planet. You think about it, if kids be important for them to learn how to read and write, that's fundamental, but then they shift over to holograms, and then we have to have a really decent space program, and then we have to have a really good satellites, and then if we're aligning robotics into that as well, and then they start to learn this, and they start to understand that. People will say, oh, that's slave labor. No, I don't think it's so. It's better than copy pasting the stuff that is already known, as opposed to learning new stuff, that's new information that comes in. And they get to recreate this and get to talk about it, as opposed to learning this stuff. Yeah, and sure, some of that learning from the past is great, right? I just wonder if people go to a library and are like, have you got any history books? Before, I just want to regurgitate, copy and paste all this shit. Oh yeah, we've got a whole section full of it. People love. Oh, actually, no, everyone's taken them all out. There is none. Oh, there's a waiting list. People are really interested in the past, whilst people tell you to stop living in the past. And then the kids must be growing up so confused because we just learnt nothing but the past. We're not experimenting. We're not exploring. We're not learning about the environment that we're in. We have to stay here, learn the environment while being in a different environment, copying the stuff that's quite... it's so bored. Yeah. Which...
No one should be copying at the first place. That is like 100 years, maybe even older stuff. Copying from a book is nonsense. And teacher should come and explain and talk about something, and kids make some notes. They have textbook too. If they have to have a test, they have textbook to read some data to memorize it at this system for their test or for something like that. Why should they copy from the book?
Yeah, that's pretty much the point that it is. And yeah. I think that it's going to be more exciting if they were to align with a exciting new exploration of learning something and get to be able to put in. And maybe if they want to do it in the old way of soldering some stuff together and making some, and learning and failing and also being successful. I mean, if you think about how big some of these rockets are, and yes, they put big equipment on them to get them lifted and people and such forth. Could you imagine if we made loads of small projects? Just loads of little ones on one particular rocket that, usually mounts up to quite a big piece of equipment. And there's loads of different... and some of them will fail. And then that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that the group is finished. No, it was all part of that journey. And they can maneuver over to another group where there's always room. And next year, perhaps next year and next year, I mean, that we should... because then we're bringing in more data. That's what we're doing. We're bringing in new stuff, and then we got to figure out, and then the kids have got to figure out, well, does food grow better in this stuff, or...
You can find out something else while you are working on something. You can find some completely new, different thing that you did not expect.
And then it starts off like a trickle of different... Yeah. And then following year, you want to be able to get this done like... it's got to be so routine, like how we send trains back and forth all the time. We should have a program that is capable of doing that. And then people will say, well, where are we going to get the money from? Well, just by you hopping on a train. Well, you bought a car, didn't you? Yeah. It paid back into here. It wasn't going into a CEO's pocket. It was going into more infrastructure. And then once this starts to operate, and mind you, align it like a mind calendar. It's actually a mechanism that when you've got the right people with the right protections, with the right groups aligning together to make this happen in society, utilizing power in a correct way to get these mechanisms turned at the right ratio. Oof. Boom. A new thing is created from this. And you know what? But once it's done, and it still will go on to be tweaked, but it needs protecting. So once you've got it, that must become the sentinel, the central belief, not just a belief, but it needs to be set in more of a stone that this system is generating for all people in it. And then there's opportunity not for a few people, but for everybody. Anyone with the will to do it. And then what is there is resources to do it. And with these resources to do it, I mean, that must be a hell of a change of society. I mean, I will change it. Yeah, they thought technology would be the revolution after the year 2000. It would be the best thing ever. I think something like this leaves lasting impact, and what it does is it prepares future gens. I mean, if you were to look at food, we understand that. We understand the habitat on the Earth, right? How much data have you got on moon dust and how plants growing now? None. What about Martian soil? None. How do the gases hydrogen, if we took some from Jupiter and put it in here and mixed it with some oxygen that we got from Europa, let's say, if it's carbon-based, even still, better. What happens if we take a little bit of hydrogen from there and a little bit of carbon from Mars and we combine it into a module and then we put some nature in there, a little bit of soil here? I mean, even taking these down on the small areas, I mean, even if these kids, when they start to grow up with that mindset, think about what they've got to play with. They made society for themselves going forwards, and what's more, it protects a lot of people. Now, do the berries grow bigger? Do they grow smaller?
Yeah.
How do plants evolve in space? How do animals evolve in space? I mean, we've got enough of them here in Britain. How does water and dolphins, to be able to even put that much water out there would be barbaric to try and lift it off of a planet like the Earth. It's much more easier to suck in gases and pressurize it and try and create water from this process because it's far lighter, especially if you can tap into the atmosphere and push this together into pressure and create water. Nice, wonderful. Now, what happens if you put a dolphin in there? What happens if humans go into a big water, as NASA have this bubble, this water bubble, it looks like a bubble to me. Kind of weird, isn't it? Air usually does that, but when you have loads of water in space, it looks like loads of bubbles.
Yeah, it does.
The reverse of what we're accustomed to. Now, if you can clop all of this together, do you think that we can survive inertia if we were in that with breathing apparatus? Because it must mimic some sort of pressure on us. Let's say if we can keep it at a temperature that's not too hot, not too cold, it's Goldilocks, it's just right, this one. Oh, yes, very good. And you were to get inside that bubble, how faster can you go with the inertia? Problem is with inertia, isn't it? But it gives you something to slow down into. Yes, sure. Water is very interesting cushion. I wouldn't mind sleeping in this. This would be interesting. But even still, this is another question that should be asked. And in a type of schooling and then type of society that is going to be built from that. It's not slave labor. No, it's not. Because if it were slave labor, then it would already be slave labor, wouldn't it? So, yeah, it's not. And this then starts to align the adults that have this information, and it's new for them, and it's new for the kids. And then eventually this starts to become every day, every week. All of this stuff is coming back, and then there's more knowledge to learn. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? And then we start to archive it into AI. Why would you archive it into AI? Oh, well, because if you ever need to know something, you just ask it, don't you? Especially if you have holograms. Freaking holograms in schools would be amazing. That would be really good to be able to pull up the universe, to be able to pull up the experiment bit by bit, build it together to see it come alive, manifest, and also to be able to print it or to get robots to build this. This is a very new world. Very exciting to watch that and be a part of it. That's where the magic is. And then this abundance. What do you think will happen? It's the same way America tapped that back then. Australia too. There's been a few others too. When you tap it, it sparks. It's very fearful because it causes you to jolt. Look at what happens. Okay, it's look back. At the time, it was a lot more difficult, but even still, America has lapped a lot of nations. Yeah. You noticed that, haven't you? Like, you wouldn't think it. If you were to go back then, but I don't know, maybe George Washington perhaps had this visualization. You never know. Had a visualization of where things were going and different things like that. Now, it's very different from this structure here, but the socialism works here. It just seems that Britons are accustomed with socialism. It's just this island, I think. It's just the way it is. We seem to have this sort of... Because there has been some fucking phenomenal inventions, but that's because information was coming in thick and fast. It stopped. Now information is slowed down. And who's really sharing it? Because the information now is changed. Got to be a CEO. That makes you something. Grow an ego. That makes you something. Fill up a bank account as much money as you possibly can. And then we're going to put it into a bank account that's going to pay you more money to put money into a bank account. shit, it's a bizarre thing for me. I find that strange. The only place where you have a large amount of something and it begins to manifest
Yeah.
in a bank account, yes?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I'd have thought banks would have charged you to put money in it.
They do, some of them do.
But no, large amounts.
Oh.
You know, we're going to take this much. What for? Hey, do you know how much this equipment cost to protect this? You can keep it, but people might steal it. So, you know, it's a small price to pay. And it doesn't seem like you're going to miss it. Which goes the reverse of that. You know what? We're going to pay you more money. How the hell does that work? I mean, I get it. With families, 2 people create kids and that expands. That makes sense. Money? We're going to give you more of what you've already got. Here you are. Here you are. Why? We're going to stack this cash all the way up until we can walk to space. Money staircase. I just... yeah, money is a tool. Don't get me wrong. It is a tool. But tools utilized in the correct way don't want to give us prosperity and abundance in every single aspect that we can look at. And what's more, they can also add in more, which these ones will not do. Protect you from extinction. Make you learn more of what you are. Better your education. Make things more easier to function. Sure, in the beginning, teething problems, it will take time to roll this out, but I think that you got to make a start somewhere, haven't you? That's the thing. You got to make that start, and then once it starts, that's when it starts to. So, if this is true socialism, then in this understanding here, yeah, it needs safeguarding. I think that's the difference, and we have a different system here, don't we? We got you can be voted in, voted out, voted in, voted out. It's a different system completely. But it needs anchoring. Something needs to anchor this, and then it would then be employing more intelligence agencies to protect this strongly, this structure. And if it begins to work, and others are like, you know what, that's look, if you see what they've done, yeah, more the merrier, because you know, again, then that's enhanced. It takes the back-breaking pain out of it, doesn't it? Because the more people that join it, then the more intelligence is easy to share intelligence and look after one another then you have eyes everywhere in that case to be able to protect the structure. And also AI systems in that as well. It means people can still have abundance, but it means they have more opportunity with this abundance, as opposed to being anchored to a planet, as opposed to having farms out and growing food there. Keep these at the same time, but again, we also need some of these in space. Well, we built loads of them. What should we fill it up with? Well, I found out that this moon dust is like steroids to plants. Have you seen the berries on that? I don't know if you should be eating those just yet, Frank. We haven't tested them. I know, really, so fucking good, man. Yeah, I think this will, and it could change us. Whoa, how come you're resilient to this? I've been eating these berries that we grew in moon dust. You did? Yeah. It's made you different slightly. Oh, because change the environment, change the outcome. We've only seen what nature's capable of doing here. Okay, it might not be able to grow there on its own, but we can make it so that it can if we put these ingredients into it. Therefore, if you put in different ingredients, you are no longer making a cake if the ingredients are now different. Sure, it's all of the things similar to a cake, but we've just added in a few more and I've just made a Yorkie. You see, you're adding in different ingredients to it, there's going to be a different outcome. Now, what is that outcome now? Because those in different ingredients are cooked up like that and we understand the food health, and now I eat that. Is it going to be detrimental or is it going to be beneficial? That's the question. And again, does it make you more resilient? Does it stop things? Did it make bacteria go, hang on a minute? Is it a natural way to do stuff? Which it is, of course it is. And therefore, what is that outcome going forward? Does it make you live longer? Does it change the gases in your body? Is it more resilient? Has it been given more ingredients and therefore the product itself, being the plant, the life form, what is it capable of doing? What is it able to mix? What's it learning? Okay, maybe if we put it straight in, it dies. Okay, what happens if we add a mix of moon dust with part soil? Well, it's going to learn it. If we change the gases from over here and put them there, well, I never. It changed the whole outcome of the plant. But I thought these gases were all the same. Turns out, not so much. Again, do we know this for sure? No. Why? Because we've only just really sort of touched it. We haven't dived deep into that. And again, how many children are going to be born, and then how many of them can, digest this information to make new breakthroughs, and there it starts again. That must be something to live a life of making constant breakthroughs. Don't you feel good when you make breakthroughs? When you do something, you set a challenge for yourself, you go and do it, and at the end of it, you're like, I didn't know I was able to do that. That was actually pretty cool. Doesn't it make you feel alive? Like, really, you've pushed the barrier back, but doing the predictable stuff, I think you sort of get into that. You're giving yourself the same input, output, and I just don't see it growing. So no, this is how I would shape society going forwards. And is there not enough resources and land to be able to at least roll it out in certain areas and see how it expands? Because I think as soon as you roll it in, if the UK were to take up on this and we were to say, all right, we could do this sort of thing, and we put it in a certain area, and people are like, well, I wouldn't mind having to go with that. And other people start doing it, and then the breakthroughs start happening, and people get to see it. What it will do is it will make the old structures, by comparison to this structure, look toxic. And people then begin to see it clearly, and illusions are shattered. And there you are. And then we begin to lift up, and maybe the rest of the world, maybe, who knows, starts to look in on that and think, wow, can we have a piece of that? And it indirectly changes people, I think. And perhaps they say, oh, we're not going to do this here. And then people will be like, is there any room for us? Sure. Why not? Go for it. If there's opportunity, isn't there? And I think that's a really good thing to grow upon. And then it says, yes, we can, or we don't know, but let's figure it out. Those types of mindsets I think are very healthy, aren't they? Because just ask the question, is it answerable? Well, yeah. Tricky, but answerable. A project that you started when you were in school with this new program, and then you're reaching 100 years old maybe, and you get to see it bloom in real time and walk with that journey. I mean, that must be an amazing thing. And there, you're now rebuilding a new society, and it still keeps the structures, and it still keeps this centralized, but it's all the people that are willing to do that. And there's going to be a lot of people come together in order to sort of look at that way forwards and think, you know what, we can really do this, because you have done it. That's the thing. It has happened here. This is what built all of this. This is what allowed all of these houses. And yeah, don't want to ruin that just because some people are saying that social, because we can be very easily tricked. That's the thing. And if we don't look at things clearly, then we're wide open. We're wide open to be sort of like,
Yes, yeah.
And then we might get rid of the very good thing, and then what happens? Futures in history, it gets wiped out. You'll forget that socialism even happened. Well, certain socialism. Other nations have socialism too. I think I don't know. You've mentioned something about it with some authors that I've never read it, but this seems like quite a good structure going forwards. Yes, it's susceptible to corruption. Everything is. But it would be about teaching the people to look out for that corruption and be indestructible and not susceptible to corruption themselves, and passing that message. And something needs to anchor into this. You could also say, if this is government, and you could have a royal family to anchor in and say, Matt, no one's touching this shit. And then does it make it so that there's and then the people know that, and it becomes a baseline of education? Because that history which is all of this. We learned something. What is it? It just didn't work. It's not working. No one wants to call it out. It seems to make a few rich and a few this and a few that, and everybody else is burnt out by the end of the week. And so many issues. And are these issues put there in order to get means to an end, to drop down a benefit system, which drops down an NHS? If we're all going to get ill and we're going to retire at some point, we're going to be going into these places and have to pay oh my days, it seems like a life of servitude, that. Then when they're gone, it becomes harder, and if you don't pay for it, what happens? You get in debt, then the debt trap once again. My days. We shouldn't be looking at those debts, we should be looking at these debts. And what are those debts? The shit we leave behind for our children is basically, here you are, here's extinction, welcome to life, good luck with that. That's what we're sort of leaving behind, isn't it? That's it, that's what we're leaving. There's several disasters here. Yeah, sort it out. It's you problem. As we could say, it's our problem to do something about that, and then see people die of ailments because they couldn't afford it. That's weird. And then if you do get struck down with something, where's the rent? I'm going for a bit. I don't care. Excuses are not good enough. Rent by the end of the month, or eviction. And you're trying to recover, and then there's nothing to lean on. Why? Because it was put out. Why? Because there was behaviors. But why were these behaviors left untouched? Why did people not come together and sort that out? Education, this and this, rehabilitation. Right, let's go again. And sort of champion people on that do succeed. I mean, that's something, that's well done. Have at it. By then, those problems are teething problems, and by the time you're building newer houses, these will never be a problem again, because it will be soundproof, it will be this, it will be that, And then you have more freedom then, don't you? If you want to do this, do that, do this, you can do it. You're not going to disturb anybody doing that at any time you want to do it, from one room to the other. So that's a pretty good situation to be in, I think, moving forwards with that. And that is highly possible to get that sorted. Floods, never mind those. You'll laugh at those. The past actually had problems with flooding. You never will again. Yeah, leaks, this, that, everything else. None of those problems. You find a problem, eliminate it. Do we have the money to do it? Yes. Do we have people that want to try that? Yeah, all right, I'll squeeze that in. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. And then I think that rather than smacking that and creating that spark, you want to smack it and hold on to it. And then allow that energy to rock through you and allow it to reshape your understanding of reality a little bit more, because the more you learn, the more the brain is prepared for you to experience more. That's the thing. It seems that back in the time, yes, where a lot of things overloaded the circuits, yes? Mm-hmm. Do you think about the potential? And it's been stuck with that sort of mindset on the planet for a very long time. Next level, and then maybe you'll build some monuments, you will. Some of them you'll let go of and transition into new ones. And again, you become more advanced. And holding on to that gives it more. That's the thing with that power. It's interesting. It seems to seek this out. The true power, the essence of life, if you want to call it that. The ancient way of just having this ability to know and doing some profound stuff. How did they move that? How did they draw this? How the hell did they know that? Because they slapped that power and they held on to it. Well, not for long, but still, they let go of it for a bit. But remembering to smack it, hold on to it, and once you do, it's intoxicating. You very rarely let it go. And there's more of you, and then the more mindset is being enhanced, then you are basically paving the way to allowing more knowledge. And then as you evolve the mind further and further, because it needs time, plan it, not enough time, I'm afraid, to really evolve the mind to where it needs to be at. Well, what's that for? Mystery is always the best way, isn't it? Find out or don't. But so yeah, I'm gonna leave this one here. But this is where I'm settling on this. This one I'm really, It's then you don't need to call it tax. It's pay your bills. This becomes the CEO, and then there's more to do, and then there's more for govs, isn't there, if you think about it, or people, we should say. Because at the end of the day, most are everyday people that say, I want to do better in life for everybody. That's what that structure is for, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, that's what that's for. And when people come together like that, there's more opportunity for them to say yes more, and to provide more, and also for themselves and everybody else. Perhaps people don't like that sort of thing, and you notice that people that's not for everybody, that, and I appreciate that. But having that, they can give you opportunity, and in that, you don't need to sweat that because that's their thing. This is yours. But both need each other in order to sort of balance and move forwards, and therefore that then keeps the whole system operating very smoothly, well, wherever you want to be. And then people don't want to move away from that system. It becomes magnetic. People come towards it. Why? Why do you think? And then naturally, authentically, when going to space, no one is going to leave the structure. Maybe a few do. Let them. But the majority will stay, because this give, and it gave, and that's powerful, and that's where that integrity comes from. It's not really individuals, it's structures give integrity, because it looked after you, you look after it. That's the sort of thing, isn't it? You can not look after a car and it will break. But if you look after it and you service it and maintain, well, people want to then keep hold of these things, don't they? I mean, take a look on online. Most of the cars there that people want to get rid of are broken or defective in some way, no longer looked after. Yeah, same with a building. You look after it, it looks after you. Some of these buildings have made it for a very long time because they've been maintained. I mean, they're not fucking pyramids, Jesus Christ. I mean, you get what I mean? But some of these fragile buildings that we see that have survived a long time is because you can see that there's been a lot of love go into it. And look at that. The Abbey is definitely one to look at. 900 years. But a lot of love has gone into it. All right, sure, it got knocked down and different things like that. But still, look how long it lasts. You know, the thing's not really, it's very fragile in that way, but still. And some of the others are 400-500-year-old building, and gee me, it looks like it's you've captured it in a time machine and brought it forwards because love's gone into it. It's looked after, and people don't want to let go of it. Why? For that particular reason. And then if you build a structure like that, look how authentic that is. People gravitate towards it for good reason. You feel protected, looked after, insured, no extinction. Wow. Opportunity, success for everybody in that. It's not backbreaking with tax, it's pay a bill, and look at what we will do with that. We'll transform it, recycle, and all the rest of it. And there you are, a new world that works for everybody in their places. It's just not these ones here, I'm sorry, you know, I'm not really, douche. And there's more opportunities going forward for everybody. There you are. I'm going to leave it there because I think I said enough. Yeah, I keep orbiting back to this because this is making me more determined. Yeah, let's leave it there. All good.